We be live. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello,
Hi.
hello.
We miss Susanna. We have her
I
back.
know.
Yay.
I
Oh.
know.
Hi, guys. Oh, so people are excited too. Susie, yes. Oh, people are telling us where they're watching from. Hello from Sweden. Guys, we're going to be covering the news. Me and Susanna, we're going to cover some religion related news, 5 religion related news. So make sure you like the stream for that. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have hit the bell notification. And once the show is over, make sure you leave a comment under the show. Guys, keep telling us in the live chat where you're watching from. And also tell us in the live chat that you have liked the stream. Okay, so we could shame the people who watch the stream without liking it. It doesn't take you more than 1 second, so please just go ahead and like the stream. Susie, what religions are we covering today?
Mostly Islam. And then we have some good old fashioned Hindutva nonsense at the end, which is one of my favorites. And this one is just so funny. And it's like very simple, but so funny. And it's just amusing. So I was like, oh, we have to cover this.
Yeah, and which countries?
Uh, we are covering the US, Italy, more from the US, then the UK, and then finally we are finishing in India.
Nice. Oh, look, people are saying, okay, hi everyone, liked. People are saying, Soha is saying audio is great. Kian is watching from Belgium. Space Leos from Sweden. And then where else do we have? From two by Love is saying from Singapore and Canada. Again, guys, I'm not gonna read everyone from Jahannam. Okay, from Netherlands, from India, from Israel, from Florida. Okay, there's so many. I'm not gonna highlight everybody, and also people are saying liked from Toronto. Okay, good. So
Oh,
our
wait,
news
did
is
you turn on super chats today?
oh oh snap. Let me fix that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Secular
Thank you.
Sakai. You need to teach
Let
me
me
how to
fix.
do that. I forgot how to do that.
No. I'll
So
fix
I
that
can
right
do it when I
now.
get the stream set up.
Ooh, guys, thank you for telling us that. Did
We
I
have
fix that?
Kelvin from Port Washington. D, our lovely volunteer editor, D. D sent us a very good story this week.
Okay, it's fixed. Guys, is the super chats fixed now? Can you check? Now you could use the super. You could try the super chats because we're going to be demonetized at some point during the show. So you now you could try the super chats to see if it's working right now.
Yeah, if
Is
one
it
thing is
fixed?
guaranteed, it is the demonetization.
Okay, yes, super chat again.
Yay.
Fantastic. Okay, yes,
Thank you,
yes.
Sakai. Sakai is the best.
Okay, thank you. And D is saying fix as well. Okay, cool. So guys, I checked. We haven't been demonetized yet. So maybe Susie, the Susie effect. We'll see. We'll see at one point we're gonna get demonetized. Oh yeah, look at test of super chat. Thank you for testing.
Hey, thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you. Oh, now somebody else. Darko is saying seems to work. Well, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Maybe I should turn it off at the beginning and then like ask people to test it. At some no, that's
Do this every
no,
week.
okay.
Oops,
Every
I did
week.
it again. Was that me?
Okay. Okay, can we oh, we got another super chat. Thank you from Secular Sakai. Oh, this is for
Yes,
you,
Sakai is
Susie.
asking, did I get his message? Yes, Sakai, it's actually on my list to reply to you today. I've been traveling. I apologize. I will get
Yeah,
home
Susie is
soon and then I can reply.
oh. Oh my god, guys, look, we get more super chats. Shekels from Israel. Do you want to read this one?
Oh, thank you, Jean. Saying, have you heard about the huge amount of fatwas issued against the Hamas by different Sharia courts? There is a bunch of them. No, I have not. Also, Sharia courts where? But Jean, please send me what you're talking about on Instagram, please.
Okay, wow, that's interesting. We should cover that. That's
Yeah.
actually fascinating.
Can we afford Atheist Republic Defense Force now? No, not quite.
No, yeah, one day.
You still have a
We should.
cough?
Yes. I'm surrounded by cough medicine everywhere. Like I have pills, I have syrups, I have everything.
See, this is what I was telling you about the cough syrup. You can get a dependence.
No. I've been studying this. Anyways, we could talk about this after the stream. I'm managing it properly now. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we start, Sakai gave us a super sticker. Thank you, Sakai.
It's a microphone. It's a microphone. Yes. Thank you. Oh, I keep. Okay, I'm not gonna. You do it. You want to unhighlight it? Okay, there we go. Okay, can we clap for the first news?
Yes, we can. This is just wild.
Okay, first news.
First news, Miami Imam openly plans for peaceful Islamic takeover of America. In a sermon that has ignited some debate, Miami Imam Dr. Fahi Kwabli Kabalwi. No. Sorry, my dyslexia. Kablawi provocatively outlines what he sees as the pervasive influence of Zionism, extending his critique to assert a broader geopolitical agenda. Speaking on January 26th at Masjid As-Sunnah on Nabawiya, North Miami, and it posted to Facebook, Kablawi charged Zionists with being sociopaths who, driven by self-interest, would exploit any group to further their aims. He stated, quote, "This is who they are, sociopaths. They would do that to any other person if they just reach a point that they are convinced that it is for their interests. By Allah, they will do it to anybody." His comments extend beyond a critique of Israeli policy to a controversial claim of a peaceful Islamic takeover of America, emphasizing conversion and the adoption of Sharia law in a future Muslim majority United States. Despite the incendiary nature of his remarks, Kablawi insists on nonviolence, aiming instead for a religious and cultural shift through dawah, or the invitation, or, preaching, evangelization of Islam to reshape American society from within. So, Armin, I forgot in the private chat, I put the link to the video, and I watched this morning, I watched his full Friday khutbah so I can provide proper context, because people accuse, memory, or they could also accuse us of saying things out of context. So I watched his whole sermon so that I can report back to the Atheist Republic community about what's going on. And I would like to receive some thank yous, because I have to wake up in the morning and listen to first thing as I wake up.
Guys, tell Susie thank you for watching an entire khutbah, so that when we watch 3 minutes of it, she has the proper context to make sure that this is not taking out of context. So tell her that you appreciate her doing that. Not all of us listen. How long was the khutbah? I hate listening to khutbah.
Like an hour.
Oh my God. Okay. People are saying, thank you, Susanna. All right. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Big Sus. Okay. Okay. Let's watch this.
Those enemies of human beings, if they do it to the Palestinians in Gaza, they will do it to you if they need to. This is who they are, sociopath. They will do that to any other person if they just reach a point that they're convinced that it's for their interest. They will do it. They will do it to the Christians. They will do it to the Chinese. They will do it to the Americans. They will do it to the Germans. Wallahi, they'll do it to anybody. To anybody. With Muslims, they have extra reasons to do it, but they will do it to everybody. So that sign here on the Golden Gate, when you leave, that Hamas or Hamas is not is what? Hamas is what? It's not only your problem or something. It's not. It's your problem too. Hamas is your problem too. You see the language? Hey, Hamas gonna finish Israel and they're gonna start going to Europe and America. It's gonna take them a long time digging a tunnel under the Atlantic Ocean, dude. You know. But anyway, the idea is scaring tactics. It's not. It's your problem too. You know who the problem too? Your Zionism is the problem of the world. Take it from me. Huh? Go back and read their history. Learn their history. Who did assassinations all over the world? Who blew up buildings all over the world? Who blew up American ships? Who did? Hamas or Mossad? Who blew up 9/11? Oh,
Oh.
and wallahi, ya akhwa, we have nothing to do with it. And they will see it. But they have to create scenarios like this so they can come and kill us. Most Americans are naive and have no clue. All they worried about is the Super Bowl. Need to change that. And we need to propagate that and change it with people around us. Open your mind. We're not here to kill anybody. We're not here to hurt anybody. We don't want to take over your country. If we can, we will take it, but in means that the law allows us. Here, we're going to make da'wah to the people. Like the guy who emailed me, some guy, Brad Jennings. Oh, do you want to Sharia laws in America? I said, if America becomes majority Muslims, then inshallah we choose to implement Sharia. Then he goes, go to Gaza. They need dental work. I said, there are enough dentists in Gaza. But I'm here so I can convert America. You know?
Armin, I need your immediate reaction. I'm dying.
So first he said, like, oh, Zionists want to take over America, the entire world, not us, and then proceeds to tell us that how he wants to take over America. Like, you don't need to worry about us. We don't want to take over everywhere. It's the Zionists that want to do that. By the way, then he goes and tells us, but when he says that we want to convert everybody in the United States to become an Islamic majority country and then enforce Sharia, that means like stoning, executing infidels, chopping off hands. Don't worry, we will get there at some point, but we will do it through peaceful means. Do you know what that means? That we will become violent, but at first we will be peaceful. That's what that means. That's the translation. Exactly what Muhammad did. You know, the first phase of his, when you don't have the power, like they're like, we will be peaceful when we don't have the means to be violent. When we are not powerful enough to be violent, we will be peaceful. And then once we have the upper hand, once we are high in numbers, then we will enforce Sharia, which requires violence, which has violence in there. Like, you don't. So basically, when he says don't worry, he's talking about now. We will be peaceful initially when we are low in numbers. Like, that's exactly what that translates to.
Yeah.
When we're low in numbers, yeah. When we're low in numbers, we will be peaceful. When we're high in numbers, we will enforce Sharia, which means like arresting people without hijab, executing infidels, chopping off hands and legs, flogging people, all of that. That's what he said. And he said, don't worry about us, just because at the initial phase we're going to be peaceful. I mean, he's like, compare. Yeah. Only after we managed to change the laws.
It's just so crazy. Okay, so now that we saw that, I can provide more context about the rest of this sermon. Okay, so the sermon opens and he tells a story from the time of the prophet where there is some battle happening and there's someone who has to hold the battle standard flag, and they get one arm chopped off and they keep going, and they get the other arm chopped off and they try to keep going, but they can't. So then there was some dude who was in the army who didn't think that he was worthy, or maybe originally became a Muslim out of pride or self-interest, and then they were like, it's your turn to do this, and he like rose to the occasion and carried the battle standard into battle and was like so important and blah blah blah. So then he compares that to the current day. And he's like, yes, and all of us are called upon to like act when we're in battle. All of us are called upon to act in battle. But like, what is that battle right now? And he's like, and one day we will have to, because one day there will be a final battle. And then he makes a very, very, very thinly veiled reference, being like, and I will leave it to your imagination about who that will be against. And I'm like, oh, okay. So basically, this entire khutbah is like barely veiled anti-Semitism. Like, like he tries to like do a little bit of euphemism. It's like barely there. And then he goes on to talk about how the real battle right now is the battle for consciousness, the battle of the consciousness, the battle of the mind. And their battle is won because they are on the side of truth, the only truth and the last truth. And one thing he talks about as an example of the battle of the mind, this is going to be very interesting to you, Armin. He gives us the example of the battle of the mind is an example of a soldier in the IDF that you covered a few weeks ago on this channel. This received a lot of attention. There was a Muslim soldier serving in the IDF, and he was killed, and he was buried with the Israeli flag covering his coffin. And there were photos of people, giving the prayer of last rites or whatever to his coffin with the Israeli flag, like visible Muslims doing this. And it like broke the brain of so many dawah guys online. And they're like, you're getting buried with the Zionist flag for killing your fellow brothers in Islam. What the fuck? And so this guy, this Imam brings up the story of this soldier whose name I tried to find beforehand, but I couldn't find his name. And first of all, he makes several remarks about how he was so confused that this even existed. So, and then goes on to tell lies. So he's like, this is a Palestinian like man who was in the IDF, blah blah blah. I'm like, technically he's Arab, that's his ethnicity. He's an Arab Israeli who fought in the IDF, and he went to Gaza and he fought and he was killed. But he keeps on referring to him as a Palestinian. And then he says, okay, so you live in Israel and then you have to serve in the IDF and you're forced to, blah, 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 and it's compulsory. And I bet he thought that he was doing a good thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's a lie. Israeli Arabs do not have to serve in the IDF. That's a lie. Israeli Arabs choose to serve in the IDF. For Israeli Jews, it's mandatory. But for Arabs, it's not.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, first of all, that's just not true. This is a man that chose to serve his country. And he gives this example of the battle of the mind because he's saying, I bet that this man said that he was a Muslim as much as we say that we are Muslims. I mean, it's crazy to think about, I know. And a lot of people are saying that he's not a Muslim and all this stuff. But the battle of the mind is that he was serving his nation before he was serving Islam. So the example of the battle of the mind that he gives is basically a juxtaposition of civic nationalism versus holding your religious identity above all other identities and your allegiance to that above all other allegiances. And so this is the initial example he gives as the battle of the mind. And then he goes on to talk about like basically how Zionists are controlling the world and how in any other circumstance so basically that they will do whatever is in their interest they will screw over whoever as long as it's within their interest. And he gives this example of he referenced this in the video clip that you just saw, and I'm going to give a little context for people that don't know. There is a like a public awareness campaign that's going on in a lot of different US cities. Some of them are against anti-Semitism in general, and some of them are about like Hamas or October 7th specifically. And so he's referencing one of these public awareness campaigns that's on a giant billboard outside of his city. And the billboard says, Hamas is your problem too. So basically it's a public awareness campaign about Hamas and basically trying to communicate to people that this is not just a Jewish problem or this is not just an Israeli problem, right? And for people that don't know what that is referring to, like the ideology of Hamas is one of globalized intifada, globalized jihad. Even the leftists who love to say they're pro-Palestine happily chant in the streets, globalize the intifada. Right. So it's that. So then he makes a joke and he said, oh, well, you know, they're going to have to dig a lot of tunnels to get to the Atlantic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're not being sincere, are you? Are you really being sincere? It's not about literally digging tunnels. Are you dumb enough to think that that's really the only tool in their arsenal? Like, this is about the fact that they have a globalized Islamist ideology. It's a universalist ideology. So what do you, and you know that because you also want this to be globalized, as evidenced by your sentiments.
Exactly.
It's like so dishonest.
Right.
So go ahead.
No, but and also Zionism isn't, because I don't know how these people define Zionism. They have turned Zionism into this like thing that has nothing to do with Zionism. This ideology that is taking over, trying to take over the world and control everything. And I like when people talk about Zionism like that, I ask them like, can you define Zionism for me? Because to me, Zionism is just, you know, there are different variations of it, but the only core element that makes them all the same is the belief that Israel should be a thing. Right? That's it. That Israel should exist. That's not a global ideology. The only time that it becomes influential in other places is when there are threats from other places. So when there are threats around the world to the existence of Israel, its core is only localized geographically on Israel. But like, yeah, we had assassins by Mossad going around and killing people around the world. But there were people who were killing Israelis, and Mossad sent agents around the world to eliminate that threat. There were terrorists that came to Israel and came to, and killed a whole bunch of Israelis, assassinated them. They used bombs and everything. And Israel did a very good job at going and finding these people and removing that threat, as they should. A
lot of them are in the center of Iran.
Yes, but not because they're trying to take care of control all over the world. They're only trying to make sure that Israel can continue to exist. That's the only thing they're trying to do. I think it's projection. I don't know. You're trying to take over the world, as you say it openly, and as it's in your scripture. Like, show me the guide. Show me the Zionist ideology that is trying to take over the entire planet. It doesn't exist. You guys make that up. But within your own scripture, the scripture that you say you believe in, there's a mandate for you guys to take over the world. The Quran itself says that. Fight until all religion is Islam. All religion is for Allah. Everywhere in the world, it tells you to fight until you get there. So yeah, we should be fearing you. That's your ideology.
And then I just love how he ends being like, yeah, freaking Brad Jennings emailed me being like, what you want? The way he talks about Brad Jennings. You want to implement Sharia? What's wrong with you? And he's like, yeah, just not right now.
Is Brad Jennings like the version of other people saying like Abdul called me? Like right? Like, isn't that like the the white version of that, right?
I guess so. Yeah. Insert white man name.
Yeah.
It's just so, I don't know. The lack of self-awareness is what really made me laugh about this one. And then when he was like, I mean, who did 9/11? Oh, I'm like, okay, dude.
Yeah. It's always the Jews, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking
You,
of, let's see
that
if
is
we can.
not our views, YouTube
Yeah.
algorithm
Oh,
gods. We are making fun of the views of other people. So,
yeah.
we got a lot of super chats. How about we start going through those?
Yes, let's do that.
Sid Rasika gave us a super sticker. Thank you, Sid. Noah also gifted 5 Atheist Republic memberships. Hey, thank you, Noah. If you just received an Atheist Republic membership, make sure to use your new emojis in the live chat.
Thank you.
And thank you for supporting. Welcome to Satan's Minions. And Sid, actually, well, let's go through these smaller ones first. Mithras Revisited also gifted a bunch of memberships. Thank you, Mithras. And Gasian American gave a super chat saying, is this Seven Mountain Dominionism with Islam? So Seven Mountain Dominionism is a dominionist conservative Christian movement within the Pentecostal church. It holds that there are 7 aspects of societies that believers seek to influence: family, religion, education, media, entertainment, business, and government. Basically. Wait, that's not correct. Wikipedia is not correct. There's, oh, no, I can't count. The dyscalculia gets, oh!
I was waiting for you to see that. Thank you.
Angel just gave us a $200 super chat. Holy mother. Thank you, Angel. Oh my God. Wow. That is so generous. Thank you, Angel. I'm blown away. Saying, so sad I missed last week. I hope everyone is having a good day. I'm having a great day. Thank you, Angel. I hope you are too.
Thank you, Angel. That was very
that's
generous.
Insanely generous. Thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now we got a bunch of super chats by Sid Dave. So let's dig into these. Saying, if there were any sanctions against South Africa for apartheid and so many countries accuse Israel of apartheid, why are Muslim nations not accused of apartheid for their treatment of minorities? Only 4 Muslim countries, Turkey, Tunisia, Albania, and maybe Kosovo, allow marriages between non-Muslim men and Muslim women.
These are 4
totally banned.
These are 4 different questions. I think we should address each one of them separately.
These first 2 are related.
Oh, okay.
So everywhere else it is totally banned. How is this not similar to Jim Crow laws? Well, my understanding is that miscegenation is supposed to be racially based. And there are lots of other, like, for example, Israel doesn't allow interfaith marriages, and I think that's a huge problem. And my understanding is that part of that has to do with a certain level of supremacy of religious law within the civic code, and I hate that. But okay, let's go back to the original question, basically being, do Muslim countries practice a form of apartheid against their minorities? And I think in many of them, yes. I don't know if it would be full. So there, I mean, obviously in Iran, there's a very easy argument for gender apartheid. Like, that's how many people refer to it. I think that there's a very solid argument for that. And I think it's also worth sharing that, like, what is and is not apartheid is, like, it's complicated. It's often up to a debate. I think that's a pretty easy argument to make. But Armin, what do you think about the argument of just apartheid against the minorities in general? I think there are many other instances where you can make a very easy argument for that.
Yes. I mean, in Iran, it's not ethnic apartheid, as even if the ethnicities are getting, sometimes they're getting oppressed more, it's mostly because of poverty rather than ethnicity in Iran. But I mean, these are words that you could, like gender apartheid is a new term that we made up and it has utility. So why not? Let's go with it. Apartheid, like by definition, if people say like it's just the South Africa experience, some people just say that was apartheid and that's it. But if we could expand the definition to mean having two-tier citizenships based on ethnicity, and we have that in some places. For example, in Turkey, we might have that against the Kurds, right? But again, why there is not as much of a backlash? Because there is, for example, with gender apartheid in Iran, there has been a global backlash. I think one reason for why it's not as effective is because Iran has oil. So an economic sanction on Iran would not be as effective as there was on, South. And there has been sanctions on Iran. So you could see that you see that happening. One reason why there is a lot more backlash against Iran, against other countries, is because the population there wants that from the international community. Why might you not see it in other countries like you saw it in South Africa? Is because a lot of civilians, a lot of the citizens of that country do want the discrimination. Like in a lot of Islamic countries, a lot of the people agree with the Islamic standards. So the minorities, the oppression against the minorities in Islamic countries is mostly faith-based rather than ethnicity-based. So when we're talking about oppression of minorities, we're talking about religious minorities or people that have no religion at all. That's the form of oppression that you're going to see in Islamic countries more than oppression on specific type of ethnicity, and also on women, and also on LGBT. So those are the type of oppression that you're going to, and they're only going to be a strong backlash when the people of that country demand a backlash. Like, for example, what you saw in South Africa was the people in that country, they wanted that international backlash. And the people in Iran, they want that international backlash from the internet. They expect that from the international community. So you saw a major international community because there was a call from between. It's not going to be as effective from Iran because the government in Iran has the oil and the that they could rely on, so they have some level of dependency that that they could do without the international trade, unlike South Africa could not have done that. But other Islamic countries, they might, especially the ones that don't have oil, they might not be able to afford to do that. But again, the people there are not asking for that. The people in Afghanistan, for example, a lot of them do want an Islamic government. The people in Yemen, unfortunately, for example, they do want an Islamic government. The people in Iran, they don't want an Islamic government. So, you see a lot more international support for them against an Islamic government.
Or the other minorities that exist are like so small in number that they can't raise either enough of a profile, or it's just frankly too dangerous for them to try to raise this movement within their own country itself. So like
that's a good point.
With Pakistan, I think it is so easy to argue that there are like so many different levels of apartheid within Pakistan. But are you going to be an Ahmadi trying to raise a movement in Pakistan? Hell no.
Right.
Like,
right. That's another element that I didn't think about. That's very smart. Like in South Africa, the people who were doing the apartheid, they were the minority on the compared to the people that they were doing the oppression on. So it was really easier for them to get international sympathy because they were able to mobilize and highlight these things, right? But in Pakistan, the people, for example, the minorities that the oppression is being on, they're the majority. So a lot of the people don't want to change the status quo because they're happy with it, and the minority that doesn't have enough of a voice to be able to get the international attention. But for the women in Iran, they are able to get the international attention because there's a lot of them. But again, that hasn't led to the toppling of the apartheid system against women, for example, because the Iranian government is a lot more powerful than the apartheid government in South Africa was at that point.
Yeah.
Because of oil. That's why oil is a curse sometimes. That's why we need alternative forms. We need alternative form of energy. That will be a source of liberation for the Iranian people.
Hashtag go nuclear.
Or fusion.
Sid gave another super chat saying, Armin, I met an Iranian dissident in Ottawa who told me that Iranians have a historical score to settle with Arabs. Racist hatred against them, and that's why they are Shia, to use it against Sunni Arabs. Do you think that is the real reason behind the Shia Sunni split, Armin?
Well, the Shia Sunni split happened during the Safavid, the beginning of the Safavid dynasty, and it was when that happened, it was a form of differentiating Iran from the rest of the Ottoman Empire at that time. So one of its utilities was that, and a lot of people do consider that. I mean, but the Ottoman Empire at that time was Turkish, so the difference, Iran, the Iranian, entity at that point tried to have a distinct form of Islam from the rest of the Islamic world to have its own unique identity. But initially, this started not because of Persian versus Arab. This was, at that time, the powers that be, when it comes to the Islamic world, they were Turkish. It was the Ottoman Empire. But there has been a lot of anti-Arab hatred within Iran, unfortunately, for many, many years. And a lot of people do come up with that conspiracy theory for that's the reason. But I don't think necessarily that it's multifactorial. That might have played a role in there, because there has been a resistance, even though the Ottoman, at that time, the main enemy of Iran was the Ottoman Empire. The Islamic identity was seen as an Arab identity, which was separate from the Iranian identity. And within Iran, from very ancient times, for a long time, there has been this push to keep a distinct Persian identity separate from the Islamic Arab identity. I mean, you can see, like, from even in the Shahnameh, which is the most, one of the most famous Persian poetries, there is a constant, which is like there for hundreds of years. This is like a really, really old Iranian poetry book. There's a constant attempt in that book to not use any Arab words and just be purely Persian. The entire book was purely Persian, and a lot of people celebrate that book because of it. However, I'm happy to say that in recent years in Iran, the anti-Arab racism has been dying very rapidly, right? There is this push for, even from among a lot of Iranians that are anti-Islam, to separate that from being anti-Arab. There has, even within the last 5 years, like when I was in Iran, the anti-Arab racism was so prevalent that even trying to push against it was seen as disgusting, and somebody who's on like an Arab lover, like I experienced that. It was even bizarre to push against it. That's how normalized it was. But now in Iran, you could see that actually speaking ill against Arabs is turning into a taboo, and even people who are extremely against Islam, they want to separate that from being against Arabs. And through, like, for example, through our work, Atheist Republic, because we have a Persian show in Iran as well, that we have a Persian show that like a lot of people consume in Iran. Over the past couple of years, over the past 5 years, when I was like pushing against anti-Arab racism, I remember 5 years ago, I would get a lot of pushback. But now the people who are against me, and they are getting a lot of pushback. It's actually very, very taboo to, among a lot of Iranians, even anti-Islamic Iranians, it's taboo now to be anti-Arab. And again, I'm very proud of the work we did, because I think we had a major influence as well, if I when it comes to our audience. And what one thing that we did, which was very effective, was introducing our Iranian audience to Arab atheists and anti-Islamic Arab atheists. And a lot of Iranians are now celebrating, a lot of Iranians that are pushing back against Islam are celebrating fellow atheist anti-Islamic Arabs and they're now much more careful to make sure that in their anti-Islamic narratives, they don't push for anti-Arab, narratives as well, which is we have made huge progress on that aspect in Iran. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah, because a very typical standard narrative used to be, well, we should be against Islam because this is not even like our culture. This is a foreign invasion, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
Like, and then use it to denigrate other people instead of being like, part of that is true, but that's not actually why that's not the best reason why you should not be a believer, right?
Right.
Sid gave another super chat saying, in India, many Muslims have won gallantry awards fighting against Pakistani armies. Please read about Abdul Hamid, Major Hanifidum, who died fighting for India against jihadists based. Even Hindutva folks respect him. Hey, well, we love fighting Islamists. Secular Sakai is celebrating his 22-month membership, saying, will another monthly dono promo soon help AR? When I get back from my trip, I'm going to be running some numbers. But thank you for checking in with me on that.
Yes. I think that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Never really going to say no. Foul is foul. Said, will Europe fall? The UK looks to be screwed. I ain't gonna lie, I think the UK is screwed. I shouldn't laugh.
No, okay, so what do you mean by fall? Okay, things are gonna get worse. It's not gonna fall. Okay, it's not going to be like the fabric of society is going to break apart. I think things are just going to get more conservative, for both from the far right and from the Islamists. Things are just going to get more conservative. It's not going to be a Sharia takeover. It's not going to be like, like Islamic governments in Europe. That's not going to happen. But again, saying that's not going to happen doesn't mean that the things that are going to happen are not bad. Things that are going to happen are already horrible enough for we not having to exaggerate. Because if you exaggerate how bad things are going to get, then people are going to dismiss how bad things are really going to get. So if we are at position 100, and we are going to drop to 80, that's a very massive hit. And if you say that we're going to reach 2 and we don't reach 2, is people are not going to take seriously how bad things are when we go from 100 to 80. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's horrible. That's a horrible drop. So it's not going to be the fall of society. It's not going to be like chaos and Islamic takeover. It's not going to be Sharia courts, all like people. It's not going to be LGBT people executed. We're not going to have that. But talking about that makes people not care about how bad things are going to get, because they're going to compare it to how bad people are promising it's going to get, and not going to take, as long as it's not a full-on Sharia takeover, then apparently we're good. No, things are going to get horrible. It's just, by horrible, I mean everything is going to get more conservative. Liberal values are not going to be taken more seriously. We're going to have Islamism more influential in politics. We're going to have, because of that, wokeism more influential in politics. And because of all of that, we're going to have far-right ideologies also a lot more influential in politics. And that's already extremely horrible without a full-on Sharia takeover. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sid Dave, give another super chat. Thank you, Sid. Saying, in Iran, if a non-Muslim converts to Islam, they inherit the property of the entire family, thereby encouraging conversions. Islamic supremacy is worse than white supremacy. This is barbarism. Yeah, I agree that Islamic supremacy is worse than white supremacy. I don't know if that's a hot take. But if you know your stuff, it's a pretty easy argument.
It's worse because it's a more viral virus.
Yeah. It is a powerful meme. Gasian American gave another super chat saying, if the Russian Federation is dissolved, should homelands be made for Romani and Sami peoples?
No, no,
Yeah,
we're
is it
not
even
going to make
something they
nations.
want?
No, no, no. Here's the thing, guys. The era of nation building, okay, is over. Okay, we are going to maintain the borders that we have unless a country willingly comes to a decision that they want to do a referendum and peacefully, like, do something about like splitting the nation or come bringing two nations together, peacefully doing that. Other than that, we're not going to mess up with the current borders that we have, and we're not going to make new nations. Okay, deal with it. This is what we have, and this is what we're going to go. We don't want to mess this. We don't want to mess anything up. Okay, we don't have. We're not going to do that. Okay, everything is good. Don't touch it.
And with that, let's go to the. Actually, you highlighted this. Do you want to address this?
Oh yeah, somebody is asking me, Armin, why don't you debate Yasser Nadim Al Wajidi? Guys, anybody who wants to debate me can contact me on Twitter. On Twitter, my DMs are open. Armin Navabi, search for that. DM me, and I will debate you. Okay. And also we got a super sticker. Did we highlight that?
Debate me, bro. I didn't see the super sticker.
Oh, here, this one from Blue.
Thank you, Blue.
Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that.
Oh, and Suha was so nice and put a link to Armin's Twitter in the live chat. Thank you, Suha.
Thank you. Here, you can search for Armin. Yeah, if you're just listening, just search for Armin Navabi, and the one that shows up, you could DM me there.
Okay, this next segment is kind of going to take us all over the place.
Okay. Wait, let me check if we're monetized.
Oh, yeah. Have we made it?
We're still monetized. 46 minutes in. Yes, we made it. 46 minutes. That's amazing.
Guys, we're doing it.
Yes,
yeah, but by the time we get to the third story, we're going to get turboed. So,
we'll see.
So let us clap for the next news. Next news. Italian mayor's crusade against Islam ban prayers and burkinis. This is going to be all over the place, so prepare yourself. In Monfalcone, a coastal town in northern Italy, Mayor Anna Maria Cisnet's stringent policies against the Muslim community have sparked widespread controversy and backlash. Since being re-elected in 2022, Cisnet has embarked on a crusade to reshape the town's cultural landscape, introducing measures that directly impact its predominantly Bangladeshi Muslim minority population. These policies include the removal of public benches, limitations on the admission of foreign-born children to schools, and a ban on burkinis at the beach. The most contentious move came in November of last year when Cisnet prohibited Muslim prayers at the Dar es Salaam Muslim Cultural Association, citing violations of urban planning rules. This act, perceived as a direct assault on religious freedom, led to significant unrest within the community. Bou Konate, the Cultural Association's president, expressed the sentiment of betrayal and hurt, stating, quote, "It was hurtful and a serious insult we never expected." Despite Cisnet's rationale that the space was being misused, the broader implications of her action point to a troubling trend of cultural and religious intolerance, sparking a debate on the balance between integration and preservation of local norms. So let me give an overview, because I had to do some digging into this story because I was not going to believe like one narrative over another. And Armin, in the show notes, I also put a link to a video that we might want to show. Okay, so let me unpack everything that I understand. So there is this town in northern Italy called Monfalcone. And in this town, it has slowly been having a dwindling population. And in general, Italy's birth to death ratio is messed up. It is messed up. Their fertility rate is not doing good. Their like internal replacement rate is not doing good. It's the Italians going extinct. It's not as bad as Korea or Japan, but it's bad. It's real bad. If you look at the graphs, you're like, this is bad. So in this town, one of their major sources of industry is building ships. They build cruise ships. The problem is, and this is a major source of tourism in boosting the and stimulating the economy in Italy, is these cruise ships and the coastal tourism, right? So what has occurred over the past like several decades, this is not a new thing, is that there has slowly been a growing immigrant population of mostly Bangladeshi Muslims coming into Monfalcone to be working on building the ships. And nowadays it has reached a level where 30% of this town's population is Bangladeshi Muslims or foreign born people, most of them Bangladeshis. And basically, this town is dealing with an identity crisis because 30% of their population is not ethnically Italian. And so now this is there's so many different critiques that are going on here. Some people say Italy cannot comprehend the fact that it's an immigrant country now. And they can't deal with the fact that they don't have enough ethnic Italians to keep making Italy Italy. Other people are like, they just want these immigrants to come here and work on the ships and basically disappear and like not be a part of society. Like just don't be on the streets, don't have your own culture, like just work on the ships and go home. Like they just don't want us to exist. They just want us to go do the work and then just like disappear from Italian society. Like that's a critique that they have. And then other people say, okay, part of our problem is that a lot of these men come and they work on the ships. And then because of the laws, they are allowed to bring their wives from Bangladesh, and their wives come from Bangladesh and they have children, but they're specifically the mothers, like don't learn any Italian. They don't learn any way to integrate into the society. They don't work. A lot of their husbands don't allow them to work. And basically this town is becoming very uncomfortable with this contention. They are very uncomfortable with how observant a lot of these people are, especially with the face coverings and all the coverings in general. And so they're looking at ways to try to ban face coverings. Say what you will, but this mayor is pretty honest about what her intentions are. She's like, yeah, we should ban face coverings because it's a security risk and also because I believe it's a denigration of women. Like she just comes out and says it.
Wow.
So like say what you want. Like she just comes out and says it. And so then a lot of people, and this title might be a little bit misleading, saying that she's banning prayers, whatever. This is a little bit of a overestimation, because what basically happened was that there are a very select few cultural centers, Islamic cultural centers in the city. And there was one that had existed in kind of a converted building for a very long time. And basically it got shut down because that cultural center was being used as a place of worship. And the mayor is saying, I shut it down because it is not permitted as a place of worship. It's permitted as a cultural center. So this is a zoning issue. And then the Muslims, on the other hand, they come back and say, we've been fighting, we've had to go to court, we've had to do lawsuits, we've had to do all this stuff to try to build places of worship, and you guys straight up will not let us. Even though we are Italian citizens, we are naturalized Italian citizens, you will not let us build our own place of worship, so we have this place, and now you shut it down. Like, what kind of message is that supposed to send us? On the other hand, this mayor does a lot of weird stuff too. Like she started pulling out all these like public benches because she like doesn't.
Why?
I don't know. The public benches is super weird to me. And then another
is it it's a homeless thing, isn't it? It's homeless people sleeping on them. I think it's a anti-homeless thing.
I don't know, but the way that it was framed in the reporting I read, there was basically she doesn't like them sitting on benches in parks or something. And
Muslims sitting on benches in parks.
I know that almost seems insane to me, but that's like the way it was reported. Like that was the implication. And I was like, what? And then the other thing that's an issue that I think is where this woman is going in a bad direction, unless there's some explanation that I cannot understand, is that she put a cap on the number of foreign born children that can attend like pre-K. So the amount of foreign born children that can attend pre-K is like limited to below 45%. And I'm like, if you actually want to integrate a population, why would you do that? If you complain that these people are not becoming Italian, why would you do that? Why would you be like, oh no, we have too many foreign people in our preschools? So
Yeah, wouldn't the best way is to go through the education route? Like, I think like removing public benches and not letting them have a place to pray, that is going to actually worsen the situation. You're now creating an us versus them mentality, and they're going to come. This is going to this is a wave that you're not going to be able to stand against. All you're doing is like making sure that the integration process doesn't happen. I think the best way to target a community like this is to target the children within the education system. That is the best weapon you have to maybe come out of this surviving. And you're basically doing the opposite of that. Again, guys, if the only way to survive this is to, given that the wave that is coming is to not to pick a fight, because if you try to pick a fight, then they're going to become more radicalized. And by the way, given their sheer numbers, at some point they're going to replace you as a mayor. And given the way that they were treated, the pendulum is going to swing very heavily on the other side. And now you're going to be more likely to have an Islamic mayor at some point, given their numbers. I mean, last time I checked, mayors are voted into their position. And this type of behavior will end up getting you not just a Muslim mayor, but an Islamist mayor at some point. Maybe, I don't know what's going to happen. But again, I really think that given that they're already huge in numbers, the only way to deal with this is to try to figure a way, like the France model, to try to integrate, at least if you can't do it with themselves, at least find a way to get their children out of that brainwashing. I mean, make it mandatory for all their children to come to school, and then target the children within the school system. I try to get them out of that brainwashing bubble. That's the only hope you have. I don't understand. Like, do you think that I'm wrong here? That's the only way. That's the only way out of this.
I know. Well, I mean, it was kind of funny because in the articles that I was reading, like a lot of people were bringing up France as an exact model of what you don't want to do, not in terms of the recent measures, but I mean in terms of how, especially because of France's welfare state, they created an us versus them mentality. So a lot of people reporting on this were saying exactly what you were saying, Armin, basically that this approach is going to backfire because you are alienating people so much. And one of the things that confused me is like one, that preschool like intervention, that seems like such a dumb idea, period. And okay, another thing was that there's a huge issue in Monfalcone with the burkini. Like there is as I started to research this, I found articles going back years over the burkini controversy in this town. And basically they wanted to try to like ban it. And then the mayor had all these statements basically being like, if you come to Italy, you have to respect our customs. And people are so confused seeing people swimming covered up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that might well and good be like confusing to you, but how are you going to legislate like you have to be undressed at the beach? That just confuses me. I cannot see any good rational argument for that. Like if anything, that is becoming such a stereotype of what like the Islamist thinks the West is. Like they will make your women get naked.
Yeah, this is going to play into their narrative. Like, I don't know. I mean, this sounds like a good idea for people who are very tired of Islamism, like coming all over Europe. It sounds like a good idea what she's doing, but this will make it bigger. This will make all the problems. I mean, also this is such a great victimhood narrative. This is only going to empower them. This is only going to empower them. This is not going to stand against the wave that is coming. Again, the main hope that you have is to, this is an ideological battle. You cannot legalize your way out of this. Okay, like you cannot ban a thing your way out of this. There's no way. The only way is to fight you. The way you fight an ideological battle is with a superior ideology. You fight an inferior culture. Again, these are people with inferior culture. It's true. Okay, but you can't legislate. Legislate, that's the word I was looking for. You can't legislate your way out of this. You have to provide a better alternative. You have to go and try to steal their children. Again, that sounds the minds of their children. So I shouldn't. That's not what I don't literally steal their children. Okay, just
Armin
like
is not
unbrainwash.
promoting human trafficking. He is not promoting kidnapping or any criminal activity. Okay.
Yeah. Try to liberate their children out of that ideology. Okay, turn their weapons against them. That's the only method. Okay, and you do that with welcoming their children into society. Okay, this does not sound. You might think like, oh, you're coming. No, this is not like turning them into the enemy. In fact, the only way you can survive this is to try to welcome their children out of that Islamic into society, into a liberal society, out of the Islamic bubble that they live in. This requires you to go on a charm offense. Okay, what I'm saying is not actually as hostile as you think. The weapon that you have. No, it is. It is a charm offense. Okay. So not only I'm not advocating for you to be against these people, I'm saying your only tool of survival is to go on a charm offense. Okay. And especially with like the younger generation, with the Gen Z, you know. But here's the thing. You know what you need actually? You know what you need? You need the Atheist Republic. You need to like the stream, because the thing I'm preaching is what we're doing on this channel. Okay? That's what I'm preaching. You need more of Atheist Republic. The way to save Europe is for Atheist Republic to grow as a channel, because we have the antidote. So make sure you like and subscribe. That's what I'm saying. Do you like how that
Good plug. Good plug.
Yeah.
You saved it. Yeah, and it was it was really difficult to find kind of balanced news on this. Like the news was either like The Guardian, which the Guardian's bias, and then the only other kind of coverage I could find from this was some weird conservative website that seemed like it was full replacement theory. And so in when I watched that video, I actually could see what some of the issues in that town were, because they weren't like, if you read just The Guardian talking about the measures that this mayor is doing, you're like, oh my god, this is terrible, how could this be warranted, blah 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 blah. And then when you see videos of this footage basically from the extreme opposite, you're like, okay, you can see that there are issues here. Like one of them was on camera, allegedly a social worker in this town was saying that her identity was hidden. That a big issue that they're having is that when the girls turn 16, that they get taken back to Bangladesh, and then they get married off, and then they get brought back with their husbands, and they drop out of school. And like, okay, if that's the case, like, so this is a huge issue, right? Where we need,
yes, these are the things that you need to fix. Exactly. This is exactly the part that you need to fix. This is what you need to focus on. Okay. This is where you lose them. This is how they get radicalized. And also removing benches so they don't sit on it. That also helps with radicalization.
I need to understand more behind what that is. They're like, oh yeah, like she removed benches from parks, blah blah blah. I'm like, do you just not like to see visibly how many Muslim people there are in the park? Like, I'm assuming that's the implication, but who knows about the reporting. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, if that's the case, then you need to have strict measures against child marriage. You need to have, I mean, I don't know what the age of marriage is in Italy, but if it's the case where you're legally allowed by all citizens to get married at 16, 15, but just most people don't, but now it's facilitating child marriage for this community and then they're not integrating more. Okay, that needs to change. You need to have a bright line policy, 18 or whatever your age of majority is, no exceptions for culture, no exceptions for religion, no exceptions for pregnancy, no exceptions for parental permission, no exceptions for emancipation. 18, no exceptions, or age of majority, no exceptions. And then what you can do to help prevent this is you have provisions in the law that criminalize if you have facilitated a marriage to take a child overseas for marriage and then do the marriage there and then come back, then that is also a crime. So, like, these are the things that need to be done that would actually be more effective. But it's much more difficult. It's much more difficult. But I don't know. I just thought it was a.
I,
Also,
I
one
just
more
want to
thought
make.
I had. Go ahead.
No, I just really want to tell people, guys, this Islamic wave, okay, into liberal countries is so big, okay? It's so big. And if you like, it just sounds like a lot of people are like, oh, let's just stand in front of the tsunami and just put our hands up and maybe like something will happen, okay? That's not going to do anything. I'm telling you, you have to turn this into an ideological battle. This is our only hope. Like, we have to fight fire with fire. We have to, like, the Cold War wasn't won because of just a military advantage that the West had. The Cold War was won because people saw which ideology is producing better results. And we are not going to win this war until people realize that we have to show why liberalism wins. So during the Cold War, it wasn't just the military might of the West that won. It was people chose capitalism over communism because they saw what capitalism was bringing them relative to what communism is bringing them. Now this is a lot more complicated battle because we're fighting an older, more ancient ideology. Communism was new and it was a baby ideology. Islam is an ancient ideology and it has evolved, through its evolution. It has become a much more powerful meme. It understands, metaphorically, it understands the human psyche, its hopes, its dreams, its fears a lot more, right? But here's the thing, liberalism works as well, but it's a challenge to show people why liberalism is superior to Islamism, to Islam in general. We have to make that case, and that's our only hope, and that's what we're trying to do here. This is our only hope. If you're trying to win this with military, if you're trying to shoot this ideology, you're not going to win. If you're trying to ban this ideology, you're not going to win. The only way for us to survive this is to convince people, is to talk to people. This is the only path. If the more you try to give in with the other weapons, if the more you think that this is a tanks and guns problem, or the more you think this is a legal problem, the more you waste your time on that, the more this threat is going to take over, because this ideology does not understand bullets or borders. It's going to come. This is a battle of the minds. So come to this army, join this army, join the army of people who are trying to convince people out of this. And again, this will produce the most results. And there's a lot of people don't understand this, and we're going to suffer a lot because of it. But yeah, go on, Susie.
Oh, no problem. I was actually going to say if you can read the super chats while I go to the restroom.
Okay. Sounds good. And at some point, I'm going to need that as well. But did you want me to play the video first? The video that you gave me?
No, I basically went over the most important part of it.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let me bring not you, myself. I'm going to put myself on the screen. There we go. Okay, so thank you, Sally Explorer, for the £5 super sticker. I appreciate that. So let's go to the next one. Gasian American saying, Singapore is encouraging its people to procreate in the year of the dragon to make more little dragons. Oh, that's very cute. might be dragons. But here's the thing: a lot of these policies by the government on encouraging people to have more babies has not worked. Unfortunately, it doesn't because the reason why people decide not to have babies, it's too much, it's too foundational within the changes that has happened within the structure of society and the economy and the nature of work, that just incentivizing people with money or encouragement to have more babies is going against such a foundational change in the structure of society that is very little compared to that major shift that has already happened. So a lot of these the policies by governments to try to encourage people to have more children, it's not working because the changes are too foundational for that to have an effect. Okay, so Asian American saying, speaking of Gen Z, AR should go on the Clock app. By the Clock app, I'm assuming you mean TikTok. And if you mean TikTok, you could search for. I'm now going to be more active on TikTok myself. So you could search for Armin Navabi on TikTok, and I'm going to be more active on that app starting yesterday. I posted something yesterday there, so go check it out. So thank you so much for the $10 super chat by Blue. Blue is saying, guys, today we got so many super chats. We're like doing very good, I think, and we haven't even been demonetized. So thank you. Blue is saying they do not think Italy have better values or will never admit it. You will try to educate their children. They will, They will fart? Is that what you meant to say? They will import more. I don't know what that means. They get power by changing things in Italy. It's a power game. Who are you talking about? Who is they? Are you talking about the Muslims? You will try to educate the children. They will import more. Okay. They get power by changing things. Yeah. But again, that's your only weapon. If you try to educate the children, you have to make it mandatory for the children to be educated by the secular curriculum that the government is putting, and also that includes pro LGBT. I also think that it should be teach anti Jewish hatred should be fought against in the school system. Children need to be taught about the Holocaust, about the level of anti-Jewish hatred that exists in the world, LGBT stuff, liberalism, why liberalism works, that has to be taught mandatory in schools. Again, they're bringing children that they're bringing more children that they all have to go through that filter. Again, that does work. That does work if you actually make it completely take over the education system and every child having to go through that will have a massive effect. Even if they bring in more, I mean, there's nothing else you could do. That's the only weapon you have. But that will have a major effect, I guarantee it. Sid, thank you so much for the super chat. Sid is saying, do you consider Russians to be part of the Western civilization? How come they come to hate the West despite being European? They were completely cut off from the West due to Mongol rule. Okay, so I don't call it Western. I don't want to think about it as a Western ideology versus an Eastern ideology or whatever. I don't think I like to call it the Enlightenment values or Enlightenment ideology, because this is not about the West. The values that the liberal values, the liberal values that I'm talking about, it's not a Western thing. You could see the same ideas work everywhere. Calling it a Western civilization or Western values or Western ideas make it seem like it's the West owns them. But you could see that countries that develop these, like, use these ideas, and their economic system, their political system, and their culture is based on it, heavily relies on it. They prosper no matter if they're in the West or in the East. Like, if you look at their non-Western countries like South Korea, like Japan, like Taiwan, these are countries that are based on their structure of society is based on the same ideals, and they have progressed significantly because of it. And another reason why I don't like it to call these like Western civilization or Western ideas is because some of the worst ideas are also Western. So I want to differentiate which Western which ideas we're talking about. Even though these ideas were popularized mostly in the Enlightenment era in Western European country, we have other ideas that came out of the West that are really harmful, like Nazism, for example, is also a Western ideology, or communism. Communism is also Western. Communism came out of Germany. Nazism came out of Germany. Seems to me like it's just all German. No, but but these are all Western. So again, don't call it Western civilization, call it liberal values or Enlightenment values. These are, I think that's, and again, now that you refer to it as Enlightenment, you can see that Russia being Europe or not Europe, Russia being Russia is mostly Asia, but it's being white or it being partly Europe has nothing to do with it. These are independent from the geography. Okay, these are ideas. Ideas don't understand borders. They spread like memes that they are, right? So why they are, Russia is partly European and it still doesn't have these values is because of exactly what I just said. Because it has these ideas don't recognize geography or border. The conditions that the conditions that we need for them to take over are independent from the location that they are in.
Great commentary.
Right. Yes. Cool. And we're still let me see.
I don't know if our monetization is gonna make it through this next story.
We're still monetized.
Okay, the real test will be if we can make it through this next story.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Oh my, is it clappable?
It is clappable because this guy he's arrested. But I just chose the headline because was the thing that caught my attention.
Okay. Also, once I clap, I'm gonna drop myself down because I'm now gonna take a washroom. Okay. All right. So it's clappable.
Washroom. You can tell you're Canadian. Washroom. Canadian filth.
Wait. What do you call it?
The restroom or the bathroom. We never say washroom.
Guys. Which one makes more sense? Do we wash in the washroom or do we rest in the rest over there? Did you just went and rest over there, or did you go?
You do take baths. You do take baths.
I'm not resting. I'm doing something in the bath. I'm washing myself. I rest in the bedroom. I do not rest in the washroom. It's
Armin's
a washroom. It's not.
Let me tell you, it's not rest. It's hard work.
You see, we make more sense. You Americans.
Zaid, neither. It's the little boy's room.
Okay. All right. Clap.
Yes.
Okay. Next news.
American ISIS fighter raps about killing Catholics. This is a story brought to us by our lovely editor Dee, and she told me this, and I was like, what? Okay, let's get into it. Harafa Hussein Abdi, a 41-year-old naturalized American citizen originally from Somalia, has recently been charged by federal prosecutors for his involvement with ISIS, including producing violent rap lyrics targeting Catholics. After moving back to Somalia in 2015, Abdi joined ISIS fighters and received military training while working in the group's media wing. His explicit support for ISIS was encapsulated in a 2017 audio clip where he rapped. Okay, let me attempt to do this rap for you guys. Okay. Hollow tips put a hole in your Catholic vest, chop his head off, let it rest on his Catholic chest. Okay. Showcasing his violent rhetoric against infidels and threatening to attack New York City in the name of jihad. After a fallout with ISIS leadership, he was arrested and then imprisoned by the group, which he eventually escaped. He was eventually captured in East Africa, where he was arrested and subsequently extradited to the United States highlighting the global efforts to counter ISIS's reach and propaganda. So this, okay, let me back up and give a little explanation here. So there was this man, he was born in Somalia. And at some point, I believe, if I remember the timeline correctly, when he was, I think, a child, he was brought to the United States. And then by, I think, around 2006, he naturalized into becoming an American citizen. Then around, yes, 2015, he left the States, went back to Somalia, and started training with ISIS. And there's like a lot of footage of him being trained on AK-47s, constantly having the AK on him, all this stuff. And then he began producing content for ISIS's propaganda and media wing. And then, so this was revealed because the DOJ, the Department of Defense, basically filed a complaint against him, was unsealed. So, you know, that's actually a good reminder to say that he has not been tried in a court of law. You know, people innocent until proven guilty. These are allegations from the Department of Justice. Okay. This is all alleged. So in this complaint that was filed, these are details from the complaint against him that was filed. And then the details will be hashed out in court. And so basically he moved from Minnesota to Somalia and started, you know, just living his ISIS lifestyle, and including, I love the rap videos about the jihad. I don't know. That's just so funny to me.
About what?
He was rapping about killing the Catholics. He's rapping about jihad. He's rapping about blowing up New York City. YouTube, we are reporting for the sake of educational purposes. These are not our beliefs. We are stating the quotes from other people for educational purposes only. Another clip that was quoted in the complaint against him was, okay, quote, fighting back the kuffar who's at war with Muslims. If that's not Islam, I don't know what's Islam. So, and then I want to know the backstory of, because in the complaint it mentions this very briefly, that he had a falling out with the leadership of ISIS, and then they basically he had problems with the leadership, and then they arrested him, they imprisoned him. So then he was imprisoned by ISIS for a long time until he had to freaking escape ISIS prison and then flee into East Africa.
Wait, so
and then
he
he
was
gets arrested again.
pro-ISIS?
Like, what is happening?
Wait, so he was pro-ISIS and then he got arrested by ISIS?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why was he arrested by ISIS?
I don't know. I want to know. Because, okay, it says Abdi left ISIS camp in 2017 after his relationship with ISIS's group leadership deteriorated. After being jailed by the group, Abdi escaped and traveled to East Africa, where he was arrested by law enforcement authorities. And then he's been extradited to the US. But like, so he only lasted 2 years. How many of those years was he imprisoned? Because it said that he left the camp when he escaped in 2017. So that means he was only there for 2 years. How long was he in jail, in ISIS jail? I don't know. I don't know why that detail makes me giggle.
Was he arrested because of his rap was just so bad? Like they just didn't appreciate?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Bullet holes in a Catholic vest. Chop his head off, put it on his Catholic chest. Like,
oh my
what?
God. Really? That's his. Oh my God. Wait, so what was he? Why was he
out of here?
But why was he arrested by the Americans? Not because of his rap or because he just joined ISIS, right? He tried to join ISIS.
So it said that
Like
he was
that's
arrested in, they just say East Africa. I don't know where in East Africa.
oh
They just say East Africa. They just say he was arrested in East Africa. I don't know why. I don't know
oh.
which authorities arrested him. Was it American agents overseas that arrested him? Was it local authorities that arrested him for this? Or did they arrest him for
This is
something else? I
this
don't
should be a
know.
movie.
I know. I
This
want to
should
know
be a
what's going
movie.
on.
This should be a movie. Is he going to, where is he now?
He got extradited back to America and he is going to trial.
So we're going to know the details then.
Eventually, it's probably going to take a few years.
Okay, that's good. We will have the answer. Peter is saying too cringy for us.
Exactly. Thank you.
Hmm.
You know, we can put up with a
Yeah.
lot of things in this life,
They're
and
like-
cringe is not one of them.
ISIS were like, you're making us look bad. This is like, we have a reputation here.
Get this guy out of here. Yeah, so
Alright.
D sent me that story just with the caption like he was rapping about Catholics. I'm like, oh no, I gotta read this.
Why specifically Catholics? He must have
Worthy
had-
Imam.
All right. Let me see if we've been demonetized because of the things you said so far. We're still monetized. What is that?
Wow.
Yeah.
When we're literally talking about ISIS and cutting people's heads off. Wow.
I get demonetized saying hi to people in the live chat, and you get you don't get demonetized even talking about chopping up. Okay.
I know. Well, because
think
like I always
YouTube is-
say, the YouTube,
YouTube
is
is
the
messing.
greatest of gaslighters.
Mm-hmm.
You can say
I
many
see your
things,
point.
but YouTube is the greatest of gaslighters. Oh, Sid Dave
got a
sent us a
super chat.
super chat. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sid saying Mongolia today is a democracy, but all their former colonies, the former colonies of Mongolia, as I will now be referring to all of you. But all of their former colonies, Russia, China, Iran, Iraq, Syria, North Korea, are dictatorships except for South Korea and Ukraine. Good
Mhm.
point.
We should have let the Mongols rule. We would have been democracies now. Yeah, you're right. China would have been a great Mongolian democratic empire. China.
Yeah, look
Iran,
what
Iraq.
decolonizing did for you this time.
Can we have another shot? Can we get the Mongols coming back and take over all these countries? Maybe
Make
would be better- we
Mongolia
would be
great
better.
again, mama. Oh my god. So let's go
Alright.
to this next story.
Is it clappable?
It is clappable.
Okay. Next news.
Next news, historic UK woman sentenced for facilitating female genital mutilation. In a landmark case, Amina Noor, a 40-year-old woman from Harrow, was sentenced to 7 years in prison for facilitating female genital mutilation, or FGM, on a 3-year-old British girl during a trip to Kenya, marking a historic conviction under the UK's stringent anti-FGM laws. This case is notable as the first instance in London Metropolitan Police history of charging someone for assisting in carrying out FGM on British citizens abroad, and only the second conviction for FGM in the UK. The judge labeled the act as abhorrent and horrific, highlighting the severity of the crime. Noor, who had undergone FGM herself as a child, feared ostracization from her community, but was ultimately held accountable for her actions. Detective Superintendent Andy Frumphy emphasized the Metropolitan Police's dedication to preventing FGM, encouraging victims to come forward and signaling a hope that the sentence will deter future crimes while raising awareness about the issue. Quote, our mission is to prevent FGM from taking place, working with local communities and expert health partners to achieve and safeguard vulnerable children. This is amazing. This is a giant step. And let me provide some more background for people that don't know. A lot of people don't know what FGM is. So let me explain that first. FGM is a form of child abuse. It is a form of sexual abuse. It is recognized as a human rights abuse by the United Nations. It is recognized as a federal crime in the United States. It's recognized as a crime in the United Kingdom and across many other countries. And there are many different types of FGM. Some involve full removal of the clitoris. Some involve full removal of the clitoris, the labia minora, and the labia majora. And then some involve removal of all of that, plus they sew everything closed so that it's basically just flat, completely bare, with a little hole, tiny hole in the bottom for pee and menstrual blood to dribble out. And then when a woman gets married, they literally have to cut her open with a knife so that you can consummate the marriage. And then that's called total infibulation. And then there's a fourth type of FGM that is where you basically prick or pierce, usually the clitoris. And this is all done for non-medical purposes. There is no medical purpose to do FGM. And these are most commonly done on children between the ages of 0 to 15. Girls between the ages of 0 to 15, and it is often done completely without anesthesia. Literally just having your genitals cut off completely conscious as a child. And this happens across the world in many different countries. This happens across religions. And there are some ethnicities and communities and countries where almost everyone experiences this, where the rates of FGM are above 90% of women. And it can cause death. You can die during this. It can cause septicemia. It can cause cysts. It can cause incontinence. It is so severe. Lifelong psychological trauma, extreme pain, just peeing, just doing normal things, extreme pain during sex. Because the point is to basically eliminate all sexual pleasure. Also, it's regarded as like a way to ensure virginity. And in many different countries and cultures, there are other myths about it. So sometimes there are myths that, like, if you don't cut off a woman's clitoris, then she's going to grow the clitoris as long as a tail by the time she's an adult. So that, like, you need to do FGM because otherwise she's going to be unmarriable. There are many cultures where if you do not cut a woman, the word that you use to describe an uncircumcised woman is literally like dirty. And the other girls in the community don't even want to play with other girls that are not cut because she's so dirty and impure. So like it's very pervasive, and it is a symptom of like the most extreme kinds of gender inequality. So that's just kind of background about this practice, because a lot of people don't know even what FGM is. And so what happens is that there are many places around the world where people move to a different country where it's criminalized, and then they want to perform this on their daughters, but they're in a country where it's criminalized. So what they do is they go bring the daughter overseas and have it performed overseas. And this is referred to as vacation cutting. And there are, Armin?
That's insane.
Yeah.
Vacation cutting, like that term. Okay, yeah. Continue.
And I know about this because of my work. And one of the things we do is in the United States, try to make sure that vacation cutting is covered under criminal law on a state-by-state level. And also work to make sure that culture cannot be used as a defense in prosecution, that religion cannot be used as a defense, or tradition cannot be used as a defense in prosecution, all this stuff. So this woman, Amina Noor, what happened was she was born in Somalia, and then she came to the UK and was naturalized as a UK citizen. When she was 22 years old, She was 22 years old, and she took this girl, a 3-year-old child, to Kenya. So she took a 3-year-old to Kenya to go get female genital mutilation done to her. And then what happened was Amina says that she didn't know that they were going to cut off the girl's clitoris. They cut off the clitoris of a 3-year-old girl without any anesthesia in basically what was described as like someone's living room. She said that she thought it was just going to be an injection or they were just going to pierce her or something. And she didn't know, she alleges, that they were going to do full type 1 FGM. But they did. And she handed this girl, this 3-year-old girl, off to people that were not medical professionals. She didn't want to be in the room when it happened because she was afraid. Like, if you think this is going to be totally fine, then like, why are you so afraid? And then like knew that the girl was in pain, but was like, oh yeah, like she was totally fine a few days later, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was just an injection. I was lied to. I didn't know it was going to be all this, blah, blah, blah. And then I've seen some conflicting reports that say that in deposition, she might have actually contradicted herself, because she said that she was afraid that if she did not do this to this child to facilitate it, that she would be ostracized and cursed by her community. And there are other reports that say that actually she knew that that wasn't true. That wasn't going to be a social consequence to her. But I think it's important for people to know that that belief about, like, for many people in their culture, FGM is a prerequisite for marriage. And so they believe that they're doing a good thing for this child ultimately, because this is going to make this child marriageable. Otherwise, they're completely unmarriageable. And it's just so dark. So then what ended up happening was this girl was brought back to the UK and she grows up. And then when she was 16 years old, the victim, she tells her English teacher what happened to her. And then that started off the prosecution. And now, about 6 years later, there's been the prosecution and the sentencing. And so she's been sentenced to 6 years in prison for this. And this is a really big deal because a lot of these cases are very difficult to prosecute. And this is the second actual full-blown FGM conviction in the UK. Like, in the United States, we know that FGM happens in the United States. But I don't think there's been cases that have been brought forward. There have been prosecutions in the United States, but I don't think, to my knowledge, there has never been a conviction. And there's like very difficult features in the law that make that very, very, very difficult to actually secure a conviction. So actually securing a conviction on this, especially considering that this was done abroad, is a huge victory for the UK. And I definitely echo the sentiments of the authorities in saying that I really hope this encourages more people to come forward. Because what needs to happen is that there needs to be a cultural shift that demonstrates to the entire country and practicing communities that this is unacceptable and that there will be consequences for it. At the same time as there is other work being done to make sure that victims have access to services, and other work to educate communities about how damaging this practice is, and to make sure that different kinds of frontline professionals are educated on FGM so that they can look for signs and risks that it might be happening. So yeah, I wanted to share this story because I thought this was a really big deal and a big step forward. Did you have anything else you wanted to share about this story, or otherwise we can?
So were the parents you said the parents were complicit? You said that they didn't know, but they still sent them to. Is there any legal action being taken against the parents, or no?
Okay, let me
Because the
be clear.
parents
I
also
have literally, so in the reporting that I read, there was like no mention of the parents that I have found so far. For all I know,
Mhm.
this woman could be the mother of this girl. I don't know. I do not know the relationship of this woman to the victim. Like that was not clear based on the reporting at all. I don't know how they're related. I don't know if they're related. So I actually don't know to how the parents were involved. Um, that's not clear to me at all. I don't have an answer to that.
Hmm. Okay, so by the way, this is Islamic hadith for people who don't know. This is what an Islamic scripture is recommended to do. Mind it, it's not any Sahih hadith that recommends this, but there are some serious Islamic hadiths that tell you that it's mandatory for men to get circumcised, but it's recommended for a woman to get circumcised. So Islam is the problem. And also, a lot of people try to say that this is a non-Islamic thing. This is an African problem, African culture problem. It is also an African culture problem. However, it's also an Islamic problem because Islam, a lot of barbaric beliefs in Islam are not invented by Islam. They just existed in the environment at the time, and Islam just makes them more sticky, makes them much more difficult to get rid of. So when we blame, for example, Islam for slavery, obviously slavery was not a uniquely an Islamic problem. It existed in the environment at the time, but Islam just makes it a mandate from God, and that's why it makes it much more difficult to get rid of it. So just like this, like the circumcision is also an Islamic problem, not because Islam came up with it, but because Islam endorses it. That's one thing. I just also want to mention that male genital mutilation, otherwise known as circumcision, is also child abuse and should be criminalized. And people who participate in genitally mutilating little boys as well should, at some point, like one day, get arrested and their license get removed and all of that. Every single, like, it's absolutely child abuse and torture and should be illegal. So everything you're hearing, all the seriousness that people are taking about taking female genital mutilation these days, that should also be the way that we treat male genital mutilation. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I
And I
agree.
think that yeah. Okay. um
The
Unless you're an
immediate
adult
consequences
and you
are
want to do
not,
it too.
yeah. The immediate consequences are not like always as severe. There can be very severe consequences,
Yeah.
but just
Over,
basically
but
on principle.
not just on principle. When it comes to an individual case-to-case comparison, female genital mutilation is a bigger problem on one individual compared to another individual. Okay, but as a whole, male genital mutilation is a bigger crime in the world because it's been done to a lot more boys than girls. So I agree that when it comes to comparing one little girl to one little boy, the crime against that girl is bigger than the crime against that boy, but the overall crime against boys is much larger when it comes to genital mutilation than the crimes against girl, because it's just so much more widespread. Yeah.
Ooh.
And so much more accepted and normalized.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty mind blowing.
We read that super chat from Sid. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And
All right. We should clap. No.
yeah, this is so funny.
Okay.
I love
Okay. I
this
think.
story.
All right. So next news.
Next news. Why Hindu nationalists are pissed about the name of a lion. Oh, they pissed, baby. Okay. The Vishwa Hindu
Why?
Parishad, or VHP, a Hindu nationalist group, has sparked controversy in West Bengal, India, by challenging the name of zoo lions after a Mughal emperor Akbar and a Hindu deity Sita. You can already see where this is going.
No way.
The organization's outrage hinges
it-
on the perceived
is it-
inappropriateness of housing a lion named after the revered Hindu goddess alongside a lion named after an emperor who symbolizes a period of Muslim rule and, in their view, Hindu subjugation. And Anup Mondal of the VHP articulated this sentiment by declaring, Sita cannot stay with the Mughal Emperor Akbar, framing the zoo's naming decision as an affront to Hindu religious beliefs. This dispute led to a court petition demanding a name change for the animals and a broader prohibition against using religiously significant names for zoo animals, reflecting the deep-seated religious and historical sensitivities that continue to influence contemporary Indian politics and society. Guys, it is Lion Lovejoy.
Oh no.
This is just so funny to me. So when I saw this story, I literally had a mental image of like, so there's a couple of people like at the zoo, they see the little display, they see the glass, and then they see like the male lion mounting the female lion, and they're just like on the glass, they're like, no! Sita! No! Get your paws off of her! Get your filthy Mughal paws off of her, Sita! And their lions just like doing their thing, and they're like,
Oh god. I was not ready for this. Oh god, I was not ready for this. Oh, I did not expect that.
yeah. It's just so funny to me. So they're like,
Oh my god.
just like, you can't have them together, okay? Like, put them in a separate enclosure. I don't care. Just don't have them together, okay? This is so offensive. This is so offensive. My sentiments.
Oh god,
There
this
was
is beautiful.
VHP people literally saying that this is an act of blasphemy and a direct assault on the religious beliefs of all Hindus.
They went to court over this. Oh my god, they went to court over this. They went to court over this.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that apparently this, okay, and this is where we get into leftist Islamist conspiracy territory. Okay.
Mhm.
Is that the lion, or according to the VHP people, according to the Hindu nationalists, Akbar the lion, okay, Akbar the lion was originally named Rama when he was in a different state that was controlled by the BHP. But this
Oh.
lion got moved to a state controlled by the Congress Party. And then they decided to name him Akbar when he was in West Bengal. Because we all know the Congress Party is in bed with Islamists. Well, sometimes they are. But this is according to him. So I don't know if that's true. So his name was originally Rama, and that's why it was Rama and Sita. Okay, everything's fine. A love story for the ages. A love story for the ages. Beautiful. No one more devoted to Rama than Sita. But they decided to taint one of the most epic of love stories by changing it to signify our subjugation and slavery. My name is Akbar. Takbir.
Okay,
Being
two
stupid.
points. 2 points. 2 points.
Mhm,
First of
mhm.
all, Rama and Sita story is not a beautiful love story. It's a
No, it's not.
horrible story
It's a
where
horrible story.
Rama is so abusive to Sita. I bet you Akbar would treat Sita better than Rama did, because with all the devotion that Sita had to Rama still didn't, got rid of
Decided
her
to set her
because
on fire.
decided to set her on fire because Rama, like, wow, how is this even a love story? It's
I
a
know.
one-sided love story. Sita loves Rama. Rama cares more about the opinion of the people, so much so that somebody who is so loyal and devoted to you, you set her on fire because of the rumors that people have against her. Which also is the story that is the foundation for why we set other women on fire, when their husband dies. Which is horrible. How is it a love story? Setting women on fire because you care more about the rumors of people? How is Rama the good guy here? Again,
So first,
I bet you Akbar would treat Sita better than Rama did. But yeah, go on.
let's give a background. Okay, so first, yeah, Flowers bring up a good point. Rama blames Sita for getting kidnapped after rescuing her, and then basically accuses her because she was been in the house of another man, Ravana. By the way, I think Ravana. I have an alternative love story where Ravana was trying to save her from Rama.
That's
I
a
think
better
Ravana
love
might
story.
actually be the hero.
Yeah.
So he kidnapped Sita, and then because Sita was in Ravana's household of another man, they're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, well, obviously you're not chaste anymore. Obviously you've been tainted by Ravana.
Yeah, even though she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. She was loyal completely the entire time to Rama.
So in that situation, even if they had, it would have been non-consensual. It would have been against her will.
Yes, it would have been. Even
if it had happened, it would have been an assault.
You are blaming. This is RAPE culture. This is Hinduism is promoting RAPE culture. First of all, that guy was so good, like he didn't touch her because he didn't want to touch a woman that was not consenting. But even if he did, she was kidnapped. Rama and the society at that time was blaming Sita for something that she had no choice in. This is victimhood. This is blaming the victim. This is toxic culture that Hinduism is promoting. And they sell it to us as this beautiful love story, promoting RAPE culture.
And then, okay, so they save Sita. Okay, amazing. Okay, they back. And then, so he's this woman who's so devoted to him that she entered into a life of living in the freaking forest as an aesthetic to follow him because it's her duty. Okay, then he starts blaming her for getting kidnapped and being suspicious of her, even though she promises that nothing happened, that she remained devoted and chaste only to him. Right. She says her story is consistent. She does nothing. And then he still doesn't believe her. He doesn't believe her. He doesn't believe her. She has to prove it. To prove it, she goes into fire. She's willing to go into fire to almost die to prove that she remained faithful to her husband. She does not get set on fire, proving through supernatural means that she was faithful to her husband. So, but this woman was willing to risk death to prove to her husband that she was faithful. It is proved that she was faithful to her husband. And still he says, well, people are going to talk.
Yeah.
And so actually I'm going to abandon you.
Anyways,
so you were willing to risk death to prove that you were faithful to me. And I actually know and believe, I actually do believe that you were faithful to me. But how other people view me is actually more important than this woman who has shown literally nothing but almost like slave level mentality devotion to me. So I'm still going to abandon you. And this is the hero. This is the glory. This is like the model of like man and honor.
Glory to Lord Rama.
Yeah. Jai Shri Ram.
Dry Sri Ram, like glory to Lord Ram. This is the guy that Hinduism promotes as the male role model, unfortunately. By the way, so that was my first point. People are saying, what a guy. Yeah, exactly. My second point, is, what do you think these people would be happy if, let's say, for example, the male lion was called Ram and the female lion was called Aisha or Fatima? What do you think the Hindu nationalists would be like, yeah, we don't like it the other way around either, or would they celebrate that? What is your hunch? If the male was
Either they would
Hindu?
celebrate it or they would not even care.
Yes, some of them would celebrate it. Like, yeah, which also shows to me how sexist their mindset is. Okay, because they think like the man is like taking the woman, like it's like a form of property. So the mentality that woman is a property and the woman is for the man is not just in Islam. You can see that it's in Hinduism as well. If the male lion was called Ram and the female lion was called Aisha, not only they would not be against this, they would actually, some of them would celebrate this, because this is not about just separating Hindus from Muslims. No, this is about our woman is ours, but your women are for the taking, and we will celebrate that. And shows you that when it comes to a marriage between a man and a woman, they see the marriage as an ownership of the man over the woman within the Hindu religion as well. It's not just Islamic. Yeah. Anyways.
So yeah, that was the end of this story. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
If anyone can make any fan art of Sita and Akbar the lion together, that'd be hilarious.
We could make that. We could make that. That could be one of our blasphemous arts. Should that be one of our blasphemous arts? Yeah.
Or and then someone just looking on the outside like, no.
That's fantastic. I love that. Okay. Well, that was beautiful. I'm glad you picked that story.
Thank you for an amazing show, everyone. And thank you for... Wait, did we make it through the whole show without being demonetized?
Let me check. Oh my God. Did we make it? Just now. Just now we lost it. It's the lion story. We just lost it just now, guys. Like just half a minute ago it was here. I'm going to request a review. Guys, we did it. It was the lion story that did. Why? Like, okay.
Pull forward the meme.
And it's gone. And it's gone. At the very 2 hours, it took us 2 hours to make it, to get to demonetization. We did it.
It was my hot description of those lions.
Yes, it was too sexy. Too sexy for you too. And it's gone. Yes.
Well, we had some amazingly generous super chats from a lot of people. It's because of you guys that we are able to continue the show, support the show, get bigger every day. The Atheist Republic army is growing. Our militia is growing. The defense forces are growing. We are rapidly approaching 50K. So if you are here and you have not subscribed, you should subscribe, because we are approaching this milestone fast. And we do this every week. Well, I'm here every week. I wish I could join more streams, but your girl got a full-time job. And I love coming here every week. I love the streams that Armin has been doing every day. And I love our community because we come together and we have fun and talk about difficult subjects in fun and entertaining, but still thoughtful ways. So thank you everyone for being part of our community and making it possible.
Yes. And also, guys, contact me on message. This guy's saying I still won't talk. Okay, send me another message on Twitter. I'm not seeing your message.
No, he doesn't. He was complaining earlier that he messaged you somewhere else. He doesn't want to.
Oh, he doesn't want a Twitter? Okay. Okay, guys, I'm on Twitter. That's how you could access me. Okay, sorry. Just make a Twitter account. My DMs are open. All right. All right, guys. We're gonna head out. Don't forget to like. Shame on anybody who's watching the stream without liking. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes only half a second. It really, really helps us out. Okay. So if you guys want to donate, There's a lot of ways. You could use the super chat. You could become a member. You could become a patron. You could become a PayPal monthly donor. That would really help. Link in the description. But you could also just not spend any money and still support us by liking the stream, by leaving a after the show is over, leaving a comment under the show. That really helps us out. So please do that by subscribing, hitting the bell notification. Make sure you hit the bell notification because that's the only way that YouTube will tell you that we are live. The subscribe is not enough. You have to hit the bell notification, and also go tell people. Here's another free way to support us. Go tell other people to come subscribe. Go tell your friends and your enemies to come here. Atheist Republic channel is doing a lot of good. We have a lot of great content, and we're fighting dogma and nonsensical beliefs left and right, and we need other people to come and find us. So go, please tell people to come subscribe to the channel. And we got another super chat.
Thank
you.
Give
What
us
is
a
that?
super chat just saying, Misra, hi. Misra, hi.
Oh, well, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye. Mwah.